let's get going. So welcome to this week's Sandpile as we continue on our journey down the next steps for all of us. Karim has delightfully suggested that he would be happy to present to us Weebly Cloud and what's been working for him for the last year or two, year and a half, if that makes sense. He can clarify that. But I'm very grateful to have some time and have someone who's been using a different platform come forward and show us what's up. So go ahead and take it away.
Great, I appreciate it. Thanks, Dave, and for everyone who's attending. And so let's get this started. Okay, so we're going to share.
I'll try and watch the questions and let you know if there are any, Karim.
Step one. Okay, appreciate that. All right, can you see my screen? Okay, very good. All right. So thank you for joining us. I wanted to spend some time today and to go over Weebly Cloud for BC partners and give you a brief intro into this new platform, one that we've been using for over a year, but is probably new to a lot of you. You may have heard of Weebly, but this is Weebly Cloud, which is a different part of Weebly, but part of the same company. So I'm Karim with AID+BC, and let's go to just give you a quick intro. I started my web design company back in 1995. That's MIS Inc., long time ago. And I've been a BC partner for about 10 years. We white label it under -B, so it's a dashboard for your online business, or was, I guess, or is for the next 2 years. But really the pace of BC development, or the lack of BC development, and wanting to look for options where we can build sites more efficiently, quickly, on new modern platforms, took me down the road of looking at other platforms about 18 months ago. And I decided to look at DIY builders because I wanted something that, again, we could build sites very quickly, especially for smaller, simpler sites, brochure type sites, or even e-commerce sites, turns out. So I looked at Wix, Squarespace, and Weebly. And what I found is that Weebly was really the only one that offered a designer platform. So Wix and Squarespace are fine if you're making your own site and you just need something basic, but they don't give you a partner control panel where you can manage all your sites and set your prices and things like that. So that's how I got into Weebly Cloud. And we just decided, Joe and I, my partner Joe Wellborn, who's should be on here, we decided to embrace the change, and go with the flow versus trying to fight the DIY platforms. Use them to build sites for our clients more quickly. And so we've been able to build over 20 sites in the last 12 months. And our clients are very happy because their sites and their projects are done more quickly. And they have a great interface for being able to edit their own sites. And we're happy building them because, again, we can build them more quickly and handle more projects and make more money on each project. So it's a win-win. Clients are happy and we're happy. If you have any questions, stop me along the way. I tend to get focused on what I'm saying. So I shout out or whatever if you have a question.
Quick question from Bruce, Karim,
Yes.
is do you use anything else for higher end sites? Is this
I do. Yeah, we use Webflow, which is another one that I looked at a while ago. And we use that for sites that are more custom or require very specific, web apps, because you can do a sort of web app-like feature on Webflow. So we do use Webflow as well. But the majority of sites that we do have been on Weebly Cloud.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, it's the designer platform for Weebly. They're one of the top 3 DIY builders. Something like 50 million sites are on Weebly. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. We don't have to worry about that. And this is all they do. So it's not like Adobe where their main bread and butter was Photoshop and Illustrator and Creative Cloud. It's this is all they do is building their web tool and hosting sites. They also have an app center for add-ons, and we'll talk about that. You can white label it and get a discount for hosting along the way. So these are the different plans that they offer for partners. These are not for clients. This is for partners. So if you are a BC partner and looking at replacing your BC partner portal with something else where you can build sites on it, this is the platform that you can look at and the various options. So on the left, I have the Weebly retail prices, which is what people would see if they just went to Weebly. But these are the discounts that you get on those plans as a partner. So they have a pay-as-you-go plan, the a la carte plan, where there's no annual fee. You don't get much of a discount, but there's a slight discount there on some of the plans. And you can certainly start out that way and build sites on Weebly Cloud and resell them to your clients. What we went with is the agency plan, and that's where you get the biggest discount. So we get 50% off, or more than 50%, depending on the plan, of the Weebly rates. And you also can white label it, which is something that's important to a lot of BC partners.
Karim, someone has asked, is that $149 a year perpetual after that, or does it revert back to the regular price after the first year?
They've told me they would honor that rate going forward as well. So it's not just a one-time rate. Once you sign up on that rate, it locks it in for that rate.
Okay, and then another question was, seems a bit odd at this particular point in time, but Aaron asks, how is the sub-level navigation on Weebly on desktop view and mobile view? How many levels have we gone down? And maybe just before you answer that, if you can kind of keep some of those questions till the end, just give Karim, I'm telling the audience, give Karim a chance to go through his presentation, because your questions might be answered, and that will save my having to try and interrupt all the time.
Yeah, so basically you pay an annual fee to be a partner, but along with that you get a discount. So you can make up that fee pretty quickly depending on how many sites you're hosting. So we have about 20 sites now, as I mentioned, on Weebly Cloud. And so let's talk about some of their specific plans, because here it just says Starter, Pro, Business, Performance. We don't know what those mean. So let's take a look. So these are the actual Weebly plans. So the Starter plan is, they really refer to it for personal use. On all plans, you get the drag and drop builder. You can have your own domain name. On the Starter plan, you can even have e-commerce if you have a small store up to 10 products. So if you compare that, if we go compare that to Business Catalyst, where you had to be on a $40 plan to be able to do e-commerce, here on a $4 plan, you can do a very small e-commerce site. That can make a difference. As you go up the plan, certainly you get more capabilities. One of the things that I want to point out is the membership section, where it talks about members. So there is a feature like Secure Zones in Weebly, where you can have pages and secure them via passwords, and we'll talk about that. You can have members, or you can have groups. So you can assign a page to a group, and everybody who's a member of that group can access it. And you can also do member registration, so people can register to request access to a group or automatically be joined to a specific group. You can do digital downloads. You can do automatic tax calculations, which is something that a lot of people have always wanted on BC that we never had. So if you look at it, really, and we'll talk about the e-commerce capabilities down the line a little bit more, but it's really full-featured for something that you would think is a DIY platform. It gives you actually a lot of capabilities for e-commerce. Any questions on the Weebly plans, Dave?
One just quickly came in. Was that fee per month? Was that fee per month or per month? If per year, 3 or 4? I don't get that. Sorry, Jack. You're going to have to rephrase that one.
All right. Well, let's keep going. Oh,
Neil,
yeah. You have another question?
Neil asks, how about media items and secure zones?
Well, we talked about secure zones. Media items, they do have a feature where you can upload files, so you can have file attachments, but not in the way that we used to do. Fill out a form and then you get like a media download, or that it tracks how many times the file has been downloaded.
Okay, I'm going to let you just carry on. I'm not going to interrupt you, and I'll just,
no problem.
We'll try and go through the questions at the end. People may have to re-ask them, but it just doesn't make sense for me to keep interrupting you with stuff I'm sure you're going to cover a little bit farther down the road.
Not a problem. So we talked about the cloud admin. That's basically the sort of the equivalent to BC's partner portal, but I think better. It gives you more capabilities, so you can manage your clients, your admin users, your team members, the hosting plans, apps, themes, billing, and more. And they also have an API for everything. So everything within the cloud admin can be automated. Account creation, site creation can all be automated via their REST APIs. Even internally, you know, they have a blog API, for instance. So you can automate, you can get a list of blog posts via their API. Their pages have an API. Themes have an API, and so forth. So it's something that we've always, again, wanted for BC, but they have it built in. So here's a sort of a comparison chart between the BC Partner Portal and the Weebly Cloud Admin. So with Business Catalyst, you just went to My Sites and you saw your sites here. Everything is managed under clients. So you go to a client and you see all the sites that that client has underneath it, and you add another site to it. So it actually makes a lot more sense. If you have a client that has multiple sites with you right now, you have to go through that alphabetic list to find all their sites and, you know, work on them. Here they're grouped by client. Or if you wanted to, if you're someone who works with other BC partners, you can group them by BC partner, or by, you know, by partner or agency that you work with. So you can group them any way that you want under that client area. One of the nice things that we've enjoyed having is that you can actually restore sites, pages, and elements. So you can delete a site, and then if the client decides that they actually want their site back, you can restore it, which is something, again, we could never do on BC. And going beyond that, you can actually restore individual pages and elements as well. And that's something that's unique to Weebly Cloud. It's not part of Weebly Retail. So in Weebly Cloud, if a client contacts you and says, hey, I deleted a page by mistake, you can actually restore that. Or even if they deleted a particular element on a page, you can restore it. So you have a lot of flexibility there. On BC, we had partner accounts, but they had access to everything. So you couldn't give them limited access. So when you made a partner account, they had access to billing and sites and everything. Here you have different roles, and so you can add people to different roles. The pricing, obviously, we talked about. So, you know, depending on which plan you're on Weebly Cloud, it's between $4 to $20 a month. On BC, it was between $10 to $69 a month. And the discounts and so forth. You can also set your own pricing. So Weebly Cloud allows you to create different packages, and so you can assign your own prices to those plans. Hold on a sec, my screen's refreshing. Okay. You can also manage apps, and you can actually upload your own custom apps. So we've done some custom apps for clients, and we'll talk about that. You can upload themes and have custom themes, or even do something like what we had with the OBD, where people could go on, you know, create a site, choose a theme, and so you can create custom themes that your clients would see. So if you have a client who's has a niche market, for instance, or vertical market, you can create custom themes for them, and they can create a site and just choose one of the themes that you've pre-made for them. I also like the billing. On Weebly Cloud, we get one downloadable invoice each month for all the sites that we have. With BC, you know, I still get an email every month for every site individually, and so it's nice to have that all in one place. And we talked about the API. So one of the main features of Weebly is their content management system, their easy-to-use visual editor. Actually, that's the neat name that we use, because we like the white label Weebly. So we call it easyvisualeditor.com. And that's what I tell clients. I'm like, you know, you're going to have an easy visual editor that you can use to manage your site. That's all I tell them. I don't tell them, you know, you're being hosted on Weebly, because they don't even care. They're coming to us for us to, you know, for our expertise and for us to have a solution for helping their business. They don't necessarily care what tool we use. So we just call it Easy Visual Editor. And you do have access to HTML, CSS. If some of you have seen that video I made the other day where I show how you can migrate a BC site to Weebly Cloud in 10 minutes, I take advantage of being able to edit the HTML CSS of Weebly themes directly in the editor. And most of the time you're going to actually just use the drag and drop elements so that you can put those onto the page. They have photo galleries, slideshows, YouTube elements, and quite a bit more. So let's just do another comparison between Business Catalyst and Weebly Cloud. So we have a visual editor, which we never had. You also have automatic navigation. So when you create a page or your client creates a page, it automatically gets added to the menu. You can choose to hide pages from the menu. You can reorder pages. Going back to that question, you can also arrange pages so that there are submenus. I think the most I've done is 2 or 3 levels, but I don't see why you couldn't go deeper than that if you wanted to. I haven't seen a limit on that. But it's nice to not have to manually do that. With BC, we'd create a page and then you have to go to the menu module and add it to the menu module. And that didn't always make sense to clients, that they had to take that extra step. We talked about secure zones. You can also have multiple blogs on Weebly Cloud, just like you do on BC. You have slideshows, YouTube, photo galleries, Google Maps, all built in without needing to get a Google Map key or anything like that. You can build forms with a drag and drop interface, and that form data can then be downloaded into an Excel file. Because they have an API, you can also connect it with Zapier. I know somebody had asked or commented somewhere about being able to get the form data into Google Docs, for instance, or Google Sheets. With Zapier, you can connect your site so that that happens, and your form data can go into Google Docs. There's audio and video players built in, so you can actually upload directly videos and audio onto your site or through YouTube, as we talked about. The feature that a lot of people certainly want is web apps, and we briefly touched on that. And I mentioned that I'm using Webflow for sites that require web apps. But it really depends on the site. A lot of times on BC, we used web apps because that's all we had to allow clients to have multiple editable areas on a page. So we would use web apps for sidebars, we would use web apps for header images, we'd use web apps for hero images or slideshows, things like that. And for those, you can just use the built-in Weebly elements for that. Again, I talk about that in that video that I put up the other day, where I converted a site that had web apps and just used Weebly elements instead. There's also the possibility that there might be a Weebly app that does what you want. But if none of those things work, then Weebly might not be the right platform for that particular site. That's how we have handled web apps. Any questions, pertinent questions so far?
Probably a couple. Can you host server-side code on Weebly?
No server-side code. It's just HTML, CSS. You can't do any PHP or anything.
Okay, and can you have forms with payments?
Forms with payments. That's a good question. I don't know if I've done that. We've certainly done forms, and you can do e-commerce, but I haven't connected the two yet.
Like a donation form or something like that, maybe, right?
Right. We did a site for a client who was running for office, and they wanted a donation form, so we just used donorbox.org and embedded that onto their site, and they could take donations that way.
Okay. Can you have multiple menus?
You can have multiple menus. No, it's just one menu.
So like if you had a header and a footer or maybe a sidebar or a social menu, is that possible?
You can basically display the same menu that you have at the top in your footer as well. You can style it differently, but you can have the same menu in the header and the footer. As far as social, there's already a built-in social element so that you can just choose what social media accounts you want to link to. So you don't need to use the menu module for that. Okay.
And if I wanted the utility menu, I'm assuming I could use a widget of some sort to hard code a UL.
You don't even need to hard code it. You can just drag and drop an element onto the sidebar, that like a text element, and make a list in there of pages that you want to, sub pages that you want to link to, or you can embed HTML. So if you wanted to, you could make a list in HTML and embed an HTML widget.
Okay, can you replicate a site?
You can replicate a site. You can save a site as a template so that you can use it over and over again, or you can just replicate a site, yeah.
Okay. And the last one for this section here is, what about SSL? Did you mention that?
All sites include SSL, and it's on my screen now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So carry on.
So the other element to Weebly Cloud is hosting. One thing that's interesting is when you publish a site on Weebly Cloud, if you want, it can actually connect to your own server and upload those files somewhere else so that you're just using their editor, so to speak, but hosting it yourself. Now, you don't get the free SSL certificate when you do it that way. I don't recommend that, but there might be a case where you would want to do that, and so that is a possibility. All the sites that we've done have been hosted on Weebly Cloud, so we haven't done it that way. You can resell email accounts, so they don't include free email accounts, but they allow you to resell accounts via G Suite. So that's what we've done for clients that wanted email. You get unlimited storage per site, so we don't have to worry about the 2 gig limit that we had on BC, and we talked about SSL. So, all right, let's go to the next one. We talked about all these. E-commerce, yeah, so it's fully integrated. They're not using a third-party widget or anything like that. This is native e-commerce, and it's an important part of their platform, so they put a lot of development into that. I've seen a lot of improvements over the last year to the e-commerce and just enhancements, features and things they've added. So you can do inventory tracking, you can do filtered product search, digital and physical products. We talked about automatic taxes and automatic shipping. Those are both options as well. Depending on which plan you're on, some of these may not be included on the lower plans, but it is available. And again, the highest plan on the agency plan is only $20 a month, and you get all these features. So you're starting at a $4 plan, you can have e-commerce. And then if you go up to a $15 plan, you can have unlimited products. You can do coupons, categories, reviews. You can even set it up so that it can be automated to ask clients for reviews after buying a product. It supports multiple payment gateways. It supports Apple Pay and Android Pay. Again, something we could never do on BC. Real-time shipping, inventory tracking, product variations, automatic tax calculator. It also includes abandoned cart emails, which is something that we had to wait for the Platinum plan to get, but it's included on the performance plan, which again is the plan that is about $20 a month. You get the abandoned cart emails, and you can do gift cards. Any questions on e-commerce? I know that's a big thing for a lot of BC partners.
I'm just scrolling through here. Ray asks, how about subscriptions?
No, there's no subscription feature that we use that on a few sites on BC. What I've looked at is Memberful, which is a nice service. You just, they give you a widget, you put it onto your site, and you can basically create a members area and a subscription. So that's what I would take a look at.
Okay, and a quote request versus an actual purchase?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have not done that, so I don't know if that's built in or not, but I can find out.
And then the final, I think, is wholesalers.
That's a good question too. There is a wholesale capability. We did that for a client. I'm trying to remember how it was. Whoever that was, reach out to me, and I'll details on that. But we did do that for a client. It hasn't gone live yet on their site, but we did add that feature.
Okay, that was Craig at ESD. So Craig, if you reach out to Karim there, that would be good. Neil asked if we have time, if you can re-explain secure zones. He has a site with 4, and he wasn't fully understanding what you were saying there.
Yeah, so with secure zones, you can set up different groups. So groups are basically like what we had in secure zone. So you have a group, and under that you have members. So you can have group A, B, C, and D, and have different members under each group, and password protect one page under group A, another page under group B, and so forth.
Okay, and then finally, I think Ahmed is asking, can you have multiple templates for cart and checkout? I'm not sure what he's after there really, but
you can create different. What we had in BC as page templates. So you can create different page templates and assign them to pages. I don't think you can do that with the e-commerce pages. The e-commerce pages use like your default template. But for other pages, you can choose, if you wanted a different template, a different page template.
Okay, I'm not sure why he was after multiple templates for cart and checkout, but if you can clarify that. And Neil, just for clarification, so each user can't have their own password? Is that what you're asking, Neil?
No, each user is a member, and a member is part of a group.
Okay, but each user, can they have their own password, or
Yes.
is it so
no,
they
have
can?
their own password. Yep, they have their own account, their own username, password. Yep.
Okay. All right, Bruce, I'll ask. So for forms, autoresponders, file uploads, and CAPTCHA.
CAPTCHA, yes. Autoresponder, yes. Files, like file uploads, is that what he was asking?
Correct, yeah.
I have not done that, so I don't have an answer to that, but I can find out.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so the other feature of Weebly Cloud is their App Center, or Weebly in general. They have an App Center which you can decide if you want to give access to your clients to the Weebly App Center, where they can go and buy their own apps. So it's not like BC where only partners can buy apps. End users can also buy apps. Some apps are free, some are paid. You can choose whether you want to do that or not. So it's a per plan. Basically, you can choose whether you want to give access to the App Center or not. The App Center is, if you white label your site, the App Center is mostly white label, but there might be apps that the developer has put the word Weebly in their description, for instance, and so then your client would see that. But besides that, there's no Weebly logo or anything on the App Center. Some apps, when you install it, you might see, actually thinking of it, that you might see a Weebly logo because it needs to get authenticated to your site, and you'll see a little W logo. But anyway, the other thing you can do is just have apps purchased by you or your team for your client, if you choose to do it that way. But the nice thing is you can also upload your own custom apps. So I'll give you an example. We had a client that we did a site for, and they wanted to embed a bunch of YouTube videos on their site, which we did. And we thought, hey, great, we did what they wanted. We showed it to them, and they didn't like the fact that at the end of the YouTube videos, there was a bunch of thumbnails for other related videos. So we looked at it, and YouTube in their embed code actually gives you the ability to turn that off, but the built-in YouTube element didn't do that. So we actually wrote a custom app that we called YouTube Customizer, and gave the client in the settings the option to turn that on or off the related videos. And so that solved that client's problem pretty quickly. We just developed the app using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it uses the Mustache templating system. The other thing that we were able to do then is to put that app into the Weebly App Center. So we're actually selling apps on the Weebly App Center, which we just talked about. There's about 50 million sites on Weebly. So our app is in front of a whole lot of people. And so if somebody else runs into the same problem and they need that same YouTube feature, they can just buy our app. And we do. We get sales every day from the apps that we've created. So it's generated actually additional revenue for us that we go above and beyond just building sites.
Cool. One quick question Megan asks, really what she's after is what's the content delivery network like, but her specific question is, do they have servers located in Australia?
That is another good question. I do not know that. I had somebody ask me about European servers, so I need to look into that. I can find out and let you know. One of the things I'm very excited about is their email marketing platform. So they already have a platform called Weebly Promote, but it's just for their retail customers right now. But they're going to be integrating that with Weebly Cloud for agencies like us, BC partners like us who need to do email marketing. Yes, they're not actually just doing it for us, but they're doing it for their Weebly Cloud platform. But you can basically use the same sort of Weebly interface, drag and drop, for creating email campaigns. And I can't tell you the night and day difference between trying to do it that way than the way we had to do it in BC, and then test it. And, well, it doesn't work in Gmail, it doesn't work in AOL or Yahoo or whatever. This is tested, works on all platforms, this drag and drop. And because it's integrated, one of the things we all loved about BC is that it was all in one, right? So because this is going to be integrated and is integrated with the retail version, you can automatically send out an email when you create a new product, or you can send out a blog post without having to retype it, because it knows you have a blog post. You just choose which post you want, and it puts it in the email, and you can send it out. So you don't have to do any kind of manual work like you would have to do with using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or Campaign Monitor or any of those other systems. It's built in, and you'll be able to resell that to your clients. They've told me Q2 or Q3, I don't remember which one, this will be added to Weebly Cloud. Until it's there, it's not there. But I've been using Weebly Promote just for clients, because you can also sign up directly for that. And I've been very happy with it. I'll give a quick overview or demo of it if we have time. And you'll see some of the automatically triggered emails you can send out, which really make a big difference.
Okay, carry on. I know, thank you, Joe. Joe's doing his best with 7 of his 10 fingers to try and answer questions in the chat there with his spelling mistakes. But
thank you, Joe. So we talked about themes. That's another thing you can manage from the Cloud admin. You can create custom themes. You can change site themes at any time. So that's something people really like about WordPress, is that you can go to, to a site and change the theme anytime you want to give it a new look. You can do that on Weebly as well. That's something that you couldn't do on Wix. I know I looked at. Depending on how you built your Wix site, you might not be able to change your theme. But here with Weebly, you can. And you can also convert an existing site into a Weebly theme, hence the video that I made. So take a look at that. I'll give you the link at the end. Or if somebody else has it, they can paste it in there. But it's a video that shows you how to convert a site into a Weebly theme.
I've pasted it a couple times into the chat.
Okay, great. So we talked about pricing plans. You can create your own plans. So we have different plans that we've set up for different types of clients, different types of sites. You set your own rates. You choose what features you want to include. You choose whether they're monthly or annual. It doesn't actually bill your clients yet. That might be coming down the line. For now, you bill them through however invoicing system you're billing your clients now. But at least you'll know what plan each client is on. And when you get your invoice every month, you'll see how many different people you have on different plans and so forth. We talked about billing, that it's all integrated and you just get one invoice, and you can download the details. The key thing here is that you're built for sites once you publish them. So you can start building a site, preview it, send a preview link to your clients, work on it some more. And then when your client says, okay, I'm ready to go live, you just say publish and you're done. Then you start getting billed. So you don't have to pay until the site is ready to go with Weebly Cloud. So in summary, before we do a demo, using Weebly Cloud, we've been able to complete projects more quickly than we did on BC. Our hosting costs are significantly lower. Our clients have a much easier interface. We've been able to sell apps and generate additional revenue. And so overall, we've spent less time building sites, higher margins, and you can make more money. So I think that's something that every BC partner should be excited about.
Cool. Just before the demo, there's
yes.
about 2 or 3 questions. So, is there discounted annual billing?
There is, yes. The prices I think that were mentioned were for monthly, but annual is cheaper.
Okay. And what do the URLs for the test sites look like? Are they branded under your domain or under the Weebly domain?
That's a good question. So they just changed it recently to where you get charged when you publish. So the preview URL that they give you is a strange URL. It's your custom domain name that you created, but with some weird URLs added at the end. And it has sort of an iframe at the top that says this is a preview of your site. So what we've done is just create a custom subdomain, and we put that on the client site. So we just hit publish, because most of these sites are done within a month or two. So even if I have to pay $4 for 2 months, I don't mind doing that. So I actually publish it under a temporary URL that I have. And that way, the site is very clean. You get clean URLs. And then when they're ready to go live, I just change their domain to their actual domain name. So That's how I've been able to do it. But you do get a preview URL built in.
Okay. Kieran asked about email integration. Kieran watched the recording. That's through Gmail, G Suite. Mm-hmm. As far as email goes. Daniel asks, are you billed on different dates for sites like BC, or all sites billed on the same date? I'm assuming they all come in the same invoice once a month, right?
Same date, yeah. It's just prorated. So if you go live, at the end of the month, you get billed just for that one day.
Okay. Barbara asks, is there anything like an ad rotator where you can get a report on how many views and clicks it gets?
No, that's a good question. I have not seen anything like an ad rotator, although there might be third-party apps that are in the App Center that do that. It's not something I've needed, so I haven't looked at that.
Okay, last question, and it's only because he's asked it twice now. This is PNWig. We use BC to upload a client report, a PDF file, and when paid, BC unlocks the report. So that's out of context for me. I don't really know what he's trying to do there, but can Weebly do something like that?
Well, you're probably talking about like a secure zone. So they pay and then they get access to a secure zone, and that document is there and they download it. So you can do something like that here where you have a secure zone with a document behind it. People log in and get it. I don't know if you can make it so they have to pay first before then they create an account, and then once they have an account, they log in and download.
It's pretty specific. I'll ask PNWig there if we haven't answered your question, just reach out to Karim directly, and maybe he's been gracious enough to give out his email address and respond to questions. So
sure.
Carry on with the demo. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I want to give you a demo of. Let's first quickly look at the Weebly Promote. Although it's not part of Weebly Cloud yet. It's just a standalone Weebly product right now. But these are the automatic triggers that you'll be able to do. So you can have an automatic email to welcome new contacts. You can do follow-up on purchases. So as soon as somebody makes a purchase, you can ask them for feedback. And for each of these, you just compose the email, and it just sits there until somebody makes a purchase, and then it sends it out. You can thank your first-time customers. You can upsell customers. So as soon as they bought something, you can send them a coupon to make another purchase. These are things we could never do in a million years on BC that you can now do. You can do birthdays and then send out a coupon on their birthday.
And this is what's coming probably by the summer. Is that roughly what you said?
Yeah, they said Q2 or Q3.
Okay.
It's there now, so you can start using this to create campaigns for your client, but it's not part of Weebly Cloud for you to be able to resell to your clients yet.
Got it.
Or to white label it yet. But to compose an email, you just use this same sort of drag and drop interface. If you're doing an e-commerce email, you just click the email that you want, you hit continue, the template, and then you have these elements on the left, which is similar to building a Weebly site, and you can just drag and drop elements. So if you want to put something from your blog, you just choose that and choose your blog post and put it in. If you have an external blog, you can actually put in your RSS feed and it'll pull in the blog post. I don't want to go too much into this because it's not really there yet as far as part of cloud, but this is something that really got me excited because we have clients that use the email marketing feature in BC, and this being built in is a great feature. And I haven't seen this on any other platform. Wix, Squarespace, Duda, none of these have email marketing built in.
Cool. We're down to about 22 minutes from a timing perspective.
Take a quick demo just of the Weebly Cloud interface. So this is the Cloud admin. So we call it Easy Visual Editor. You log in, you can manage your sites, clients, users, all that stuff here. I'm looking at a client called Demo Sites, and I have 2 sites under it. And it tells you which plan each one of these sites is on, whether it's been published or not. And if I choose a particular site, I can get more detail on the site. I can set a domain name. So right now I'm using a temporary domain name, which I've pointed to Weebly Cloud. So as I'm developing sites, I just use this temporary URL. And then when they go live, I just hit set domain and give it the actual domain. I can make this into a template. And you can also move sites between clients. So you might need to do that at some point. You can do that there. You can add a contributor to a site. So you can add somebody, a contractor, or even actually what we do is add clients this way to a site. And you can set permissions. So you can say, I want the client to only be able to select, or this user to only be able to edit these pages. Or all pages, or I don't want them to access the theme tab because I don't want them to screw it up. Or I don't want them to access the store section, for instance. So you have control over the permissions. And then it has a list of all your pages here and what plan they're under. And in this case, deleted elements, it shows me I have 2 deleted elements on this home page. If I click here, I can say restore elements. Let's see. And it's not letting me. So there's that. Deleted pages. So if there was any pages that were deleted, I could restore them there. And that's where you can also change plans. So I can set a different plan for different sites. And then you go into the editing interface, of course, to be able to manage your site. And this is the same interface that clients see when they log in to edit their site. So you have all these elements on the left that you can drag and drop into your page. This top part that says Easy Visual Editor, these are custom apps that we've uploaded to our version of Weebly Cloud for our clients to have access to. Some are apps that we've developed, some are free apps that Weebly had that we just uploaded there for them to have easy access to. The default is just these elements here. I shouldn't say just, there's a lot here. These elements here are the default ones. And so you just can drag and drop, whatever elements you need onto the page. So I have a map element there. I can, do that here. I can choose to drop a map there. You can click on any element and you have settings. So I can put in the address and so forth. And then everything is set up in columns, so I can resize columns. And everything is mobile, of course. So if I go to the mobile view, you'll see that everything is responsive. And you can manage everything visually that way. There's also a nice photo editor built in. So if you click on a photo or an image, you can hit Edit Image. And from there, you have different effects that you can do on the picture. So you can do filters. You can go and add text onto a page. You can blur images. So you can do effects like that. And these are all built in. You can crop images. And so it gives clients a lot of control to be able to do things that they may need to do. But you can always go back and just edit and undo some of those things as well. So I can just go back and say none, and it gets rid of that blur effect that I just did. Any other questions?
Well, since you opened the floodgates, stop scrolling. Can you use the Weebly Promote on behalf of your client until it's ready for client use?
You should be able to, yeah. I don't see why not, because you put in your, the client's email. They may get an email that says, to verify their email account to make sure that it's a valid email for sending out emails.
Okay. Is the documentation, or are there tutorials available for this, or what's the documentation like?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I do have a series of links I'm going to put into the chat.
Okay.
Here's a link.
You can share those with me as well, and I'll put them in the
Okay.
meeting notes. That's fine.
Yeah, so this is the information for the Cloud API. So I'll post this. Here's the link for getting started with themes so that you can develop Weebly themes.
Okay, so there is documentation there, and there seems to be some videos for it and tutorials and such. Are there tutorials outside of Weebly, like on Treehouse or on lynda.com?
Probably. That's probably true. I don't know. I have not looked for them anywhere else. They do have an active YouTube channel, and they do post a lot to their YouTube channel as well. This is the special offer that they're giving to BC partners. So I want to make sure we highlight this, because they've really discounted their pricing a lot. So their regular price for the agency plan, for instance, is $1,500 a year. They've dropped it to $500 a year for BC partners, because they really want to get as many BC partners as they can on board, because they think this is a perfect fit for a typical Business Catalyst partner.
Okay, I've posted that in the chat, and that's also available on the meeting notes already. So
so if you want that special price, you have to sign up through this link so that you get that discount, because if you sign up somewhere else, there may be different pricing. This is the lowest price they've offered, and they wanted it for me to present at the Sandpile and give this to BC partners.
Cool. Just a couple more questions, I'll let you carry on. Aaron asks, so when a client logs in, is it at whatever the domain is .com/admin, or is it like?
It's whatever your custom white label domain is. So in our case, they just go to easyvisualeditor.com, and that's where they log in to edit their site. So
how do they get the login screen?
Once you go there, there's a login screen. You don't have to do anything. So if I just go to Easy Visual Editor, automatically by default, you get a login screen.
Oh, and then based on their email address, that's the site that they get put
Or
into?
if they have multiple sites, they can edit any of their sites that they
Okay,
have.
I get it now. Hopefully that answers
And then
Aaron's
when they
question.
log in, I should say also, when they log in, they have, this is a new interface that Weebly Cloud has, but some apps can have a dashboard view. So this one, for instance, this is one of our apps for MLS integration, but it gives you stats, you know, on your listings, for instance. So these are some things that we're working on, but you also have, you can just see stats on your site. So I haven't published this site yet, but if you did, you would actually see statistics on how many people viewed your site and get some basic stats like we did with the BC dashboard. This is on their dashboard. So clients have access to that as well.
Okay, I'll let you, if you don't mind, show a bit more of the editing functionalities.
Sure.
Someone wants to know about editing HTML and stuff, and I know you come to that, so go ahead and carry on.
Yeah. So the other thing that they have currently is they have iOS and Android apps for Weebly, where you can edit your site on a phone or an iPad. That's coming to Weebly Cloud as well. Right now, it only supports Weebly Retail, but that's coming to cloud. Now, of course, that's not going to be white labeled. It's called Weebly, but you could use it. You know, so if you're on the go and you need to edit a client site or post something to their blog, you can pull up your phone and post something to the blog for your client and do it all from your phone or your tablet. So that's a nice feature as well.
On the white label side, would you be able to change that favicon, or is that just because you haven't done it, or?
This one is my, oh, I see this one up here. I haven't done it. Yeah, that's something I could customize and change.
Okay, cool. Carry on.
So we talked about the elements that are built in. Let's look at some of the other things. So here's pages. So your home page is the one that's always at the top. So if I made services the first page, that becomes my home page. So that's how you assign a home page, is you just put it as the first page. And then if you want sub pages, you just move it over a little bit. And so now about is under services. And if I wanted to go one more level, I can go homes, services, and then contact. So that's how you manage your navigation. So this is something super simple for clients to be able to do. And then for each page, you get to choose, they call it a header type, but it's really like the page template. So you can have a page that has no header. And so you do that. Or you can have a splash page, which I don't want to do, but it just lets you have like a full page background, like a sort of a one page type of site. And then under visibility, you can choose whether each page is public. There's a site password that gives you access to it, or you can do members or groups. So you can assign members to this particular page or a whole group and say, anyone who's a member of this group has access to this page.
So you could get that down to just Bob has access to it, or you could have whatever. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Bob's
cool.
group, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just set a site password, and that could be the same password for everybody. So you just say, you know, type in this password, and you'll get access to the site. So you can do a site-wide password as well.
That's pretty flexible.
And then under SEO settings, you can put in your page title. You can change the permalinks for any of the URLs so that you have nice, clean URLs. There's a guide here as well, an SEO guide from Weebly. I'll post a link to that, and shows you, you know, how you can set up your things to be, your site to be more SEO friendly. You can put a page description, keywords, and you can also put header and footer code. So if you have to put in a Google Analytics tracking code or anything like that, you can put that here. And if you want a page hidden on the robots.txt file, you can just mark this box, and then it won't get indexed in search engines. If you don't want it to show up in navigation, you can just do that as well. So now homepage is hidden from the navigation, and there's back. You can also copy a page. The other thing you can do is on any individual element, you can click on this little arrow. You can copy it or move it. But if you have a group of elements like we have here, you can just select the group by clicking on one of the column dividers, and then you click on this little arrow for the whole group, and then you can copy the whole group. So now I get a copy of my Meet the Team right underneath it. And so that's a nice way to be able to duplicate you know, something that you've designed a specific layout for a client. You can just duplicate it and use it again, either on that page or on a different page.
Yeah. Karim, do you know how long that BC partner promotion is going to
I
be?
asked about that because somebody on Facebook asked, and I checked, and they said they're going to run that special as long as BC is up and running. So through the end of life period, and
Cool.
they'll
So
honor that price. Yep.
that's lots of time. There's just about 20 questions about that in the chat here, so that answers that.
And then some themes have the ability for you to be able to, well, this is being able to change themes, but some themes also have options. So you can do full width on this theme or not. So you can decide that. You can animate the header scroll if you want. So as the page goes up, it sort of animates. So different themes, depending on how they're developed, have theme options. You can have a light version or a dark version of the theme. And so it automatically just updates. And then the edit HTML CSS is down here. And that's where you can edit the CSS or the HTML for your pages and page templates. And they do use less CSS. So if you want, you can do that and take advantage of being able to put in different variables. So here's the, we looked at dark and light theme that they had. So you can go to the dark theme and change, what background color or fill color or accent color is. And so when if your client chooses the dark theme, they get access, it sets those variables to those colors.
Okay, lots of folks asking about using a template versus a bespoke coded site.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so you can say change theme and then just choose one of the Weebly themes, or you can import your own theme. And so that's what we did in that video that I made where I took a BC site and brought it into Weebly, is I made a custom theme and then I just uploaded one zip file with my whole theme in it, all the images and CSS, JavaScript, and it made a new custom theme. So we can actually look at that. If I go back here.
My question on that would be then how do the widgets get incorporated into that? Is there things I have to do to my theme to make that work?
Yeah, so what I did is I chose what areas I wanted to be editable so that they can drag and drop elements into it. So this is a standard BC site that we had developed several years ago. This is not a Weebly theme. As you can tell, it looks very custom, but we set up these elements here. So this is the only area that they can drag and drop in. The rest of it is just part of the template. So that's how you can also lock down things. So, I had somebody ask, how can I lock it down so my client doesn't drag and drop stuff around the page and mess up the layout? Well, I put all this as part of the page template and only gave them access to this. So the client can go in here and edit something, make it bold, italics, or whatever they want to do, or even, drop a YouTube video on here, but they can't mess up the rest of the page.
So it's almost like the ICE, but better.
Right, the ICE, but really working and visual and yeah.
So and I saw that video. This was a straight Business Catalyst site that you just brought over, and then with some minor modification, they were able to make those little changes. So people that are asking about blank themes or their own theme or whatever, you can bring it and load it up. What happens, from what I see, what happens is how much you can actually incorporate the Weebly tools is maybe the one factor you have to consider, right?
Right. It's up to you how you want to control that. So what I did is I replaced the BC tags with Weebly tags. So here I just put the title tag. I just put the tag menu, which is for their navigation.
That was all in that video, which I've added links to.
That was all in that video, right? So you'll see it there. But that's all I did, and then I made certain parts editable. I also did on the contact page, and this is something we were using a web app for before, is to be able to manage their sidebar. So I just set their sidebar as a Weebly element, and then I dragged a map in there and made this editable, so they can put whatever sidebar they want there without having to use a web app for that. Same with their header images. I just set it up as a Weebly header, and so the client can go there and edit the background and replace the photo without having to have a web app to connect to a page to do that.
Cool. A few folks have asked, is the interface similar or the same as the Weebly Retail tool?
It's the same interface as Weebly Retail, except you have some additional.
So a client would be familiar if he was used to using the retail side and he moved into this. It would be familiar to them.
Yeah, if a client knows Weebly, then that would be familiar with them. But in the in the year that we've been using it, we haven't had any clients that were previous Weebly clients, but it's certainly possible. There are 50 million sites on there. But the thing is, if they're doing their own site, they're not going to be coming to you unless they want your help. And so if you tell them I'm using Weebly, they're great. If you can do what I want in Weebly, I like the interface, I like what I can do, but I'm just not a designer. And most clients aren't. If you put them in front of a blank screen, they're not going to be able to make their own website.
Yeah.
Because the tool is there.
Could you go to the BC demo site that you had showing there? Aaron has asked, what's the code output look like? So if you could just do view source, not that one, the other one, the one that was straight.
Oh, the one I made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most appropriate one to do view source on.
Right. So you can preview that.
Yeah, not so much that one, because that's a BC site that you brought across, right?
Oh, you're talking about just the standard Weebly site.
Yeah. One that's started in Weebly.
Right. What I can do is just actually show you some examples too. These are some Weebly, not sites that we've done, but these are some e-commerce sites, because we haven't done a lot of e-commerce yet on Weebly. But these are some e-commerce sites that were done on Weebly. And so you can take a look at those, what they look like.
So just do a quick view source on that, and I don't want to see all of it, but
right.
What Muse was like for code, right?
Oh yeah, it's not like Muse. It's not like Webflow either. I should say Webflow, from the tools that I've seen, has the cleanest code. So if that's something that is important to you, Webflow has the nicest, cleanest code. But this is a nice shopping cart. So let's do a view source. They don't use like absolute positioning or anything like that. It's all HTML, CSS responsive code. So there's a style sheet built in. Looks like there's a bunch of, I'm actually on an e-commerce page, so that might have more code than a sort of a standard page. So let's go to a typical, like a home page. It has the same stuff. I'm not sure what all this, this also could be a third-party app they're using. Could, just like WordPress plugins add a lot of extra code. That could be, an app that they're using that does it. But here's the actual code, so just span, list items. So it's
while you're scrolling there, some people,
legible.
It does look pretty clean, yeah. Well, at least certainly as clean as any Business Catalyst site I've ever seen. While you're scrolling, some people want to know if they can use SAS instead of less.
That's a good question. I know they support less. I don't know if they support SAS.
Okay. Some investigation. And this is this Foundation or Bootstrap or some variation?
It's their own. I mean, if you just start with a theme, it's whatever that theme developer chose to use. So the built-in ones aren't Bootstrap or Foundation. But
so if that was important to you, you could import your own and do it that way. But.
Right.
Someone else has asked a few times, Adam, I think, wants to know what's your delineator for using this versus Webflow? Like, where's your...
If I'm doing something that the client really wants, something very unique and custom, then I do it there because it's, it's like sitting in front of Photoshop or something. You can put elements wherever you want. You can do any kind of layout you want. The other thing is web apps. Webflow has a nice web app feature. And so if a client wants something that a web app would make sense for, they call it collections. I use Webflow. But most of the sites, whether they're brochure or e-commerce, I've been doing I would do on Weebly Cloud. I want to point out for the developers in the audience, they do also have a Ruby gem that you can use to upload a theme to a site so that you can just develop locally and then run a command, and then that theme gets uploaded to the site so that you don't have to, as you're developing a theme or working on a site, you can just do it locally and preview it. There's no FTP. That's something that people had asked. But you can do it through this gem, or you can zip up the theme and just upload one zip file for the whole site and work on it that way.
Cool. We're down to the last couple of minutes, so if you have something just to close off, that's good. I'm fine to stay afterwards, and we can carry on. But out of respect for most people, they count on this being an hour. So if you have something to close it up, great. And then I'll stay around as long as...
Okay, yeah, I can hang out for a little bit longer as well. But let's go back to the slides and see if I had anything else in here. I think I just had links. Yeah, so the links to the documentation, the special offer. I also put together a comparison chart between Weebly and Business Catalyst, which I also used in this presentation. So there's a spreadsheet there on that link, and then the video that I made.
Is there anything proprietary in that? Like, could you send me a PDF of the presentation and I can put that in the Sandpile notes?
Oh,
Or,
sure, not a problem. Yeah, I can do that.
that's the simplest way to get people the links, I think, and all the charts and answer all those questions, and including even your contact stuff. So if you send me that as a PDF, I'll include it in the meeting notes. Thanks.
Not a problem. Yeah, I think that that covers it. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to hang out for a bit and answer any questions.
Cool. If you don't mind, just if you can stop sharing your screen, then you can see the chat.
Sure.
And listen, if I haven't covered your question, go ahead and ask it again, and Karim will do his best to answer it. So if you can see it, I think if you start with Barbara's question there, is there a limit to the number of blog posts? I think anybody else?
No, there's no limit. And the nice thing about blog posts is all those elements that I showed you on the left that Weebly has, you can drag and drop any of those into a blog post. So you can put an image, you can put a video, you can put galleries, you know, whatever you want, you put that in, and then you can have a divider line. So you can have like a preview. So on the list view, you see only, you know, summary. And then when you click to go to the detail, you see the full page with images or whatever else you put in.
Nice. Then how do you handle CRM type stuff?
So there's no built-in CRM. But really the only place that comes into play is for the membership. So under members and groups, there's a settings tab, and you can see all the members that are under each group. And then for forms, for each form, you can click on the form and see all the form entries and download that as a spreadsheet. So those are the two things that have to do with customer information.
Okay. Neil's got an add-on. I'm not really sure what question that added on to, Neil. Sorry. He says, and for the store too.
Yeah.
And the sky was blue. Is it possible to import a list of blog posts?
Import a list of blog posts. That is a good question. Let me see. If
I know, like, you know what it was like in Business Catalyst to try. You couldn't import any blog posts, right?
Well, you could if you figured out the weird format that they had. What was it? The typepad format. I actually wrote a converter to be able to do that because we had to. But yeah, it was a mess. That is a good question. That's probably one I would have to get back to whoever that was. So get in touch with me. Email me your question, and I'll get you an answer on if you can import.
So Bill, the real Bill, as we've come to know him, has asked several times your opinion of Weebly versus Duda.
Mine. So Duda, all I know really is from the demo that they did last week. I had looked at it probably over a year ago, but it just didn't have the features that I wanted, and I can't remember what it was exactly. But I think what I really liked about Weebly Cloud is that it's sort of that all-in-one that we like about Business Catalyst. So you can manage your site, you have your CMS, you have your e-commerce, all built in. With Duda, they used Equid for their e-commerce, so it wasn't native. So if Equid decides to add a feature, then you get it. If they don't, you don't get it. If whatever, you know. So this way, Weebly is promoting it. They want to make sure their e-commerce is solid, so they're always adding to it, and you get all those benefits. And then with the email marketing that's coming. So you have more of an all-in-one feature capability than you did with Duda.
Well, Michael wants you to break down the agency costs again, but I would say, Michael, watch the recording and look for the PDF that Karim is going to give me, and I'll put it in the meeting notes so you can go research it ad nauseum there.
The question from Bruce about clients, no, that's just staff access. You can have unlimited clients, users, I should say.
Okay. Trisha asked, can you post your answer about importing blog posts into Weebly in Facebook?
Oh, on the Facebook group.
I guess.
Yeah, when I find out about that, I will post that. I do know they have an API for everything, so it's possible that there could be another way of doing it, but I don't know if there's a built-in interface for importing blog posts. That's a good question.
Okay. If you could paste your email address into the chat, that would be good.
Okay.
That's Neil's asking for that. I'm just looking back. I might have missed some. I think I got most, if not all, the questions. So if you had a question that didn't get answered, please put it in there again. Server-side image resizing. That's an interesting question.
Server-side image resizing. I
So you
don't
know
know
that action equals thumbnail, blah, blah, blah,
Right,
blah. Yeah, that
right,
idea.
right. You can resize everything, in the editor. So, and when you do that, it actually resizes the original image. So you don't necessarily have to do what we had to do before because
Yeah.
it's more visual.
Does it, in the responsiveness side, does it choose, like, does it make multiple copies of the image and have a varying sizes based on the screen width or not?
No, it doesn't. No,
Okay.
it's whatever image you had. Yeah. Somebody says, why did we wait for so long if Weebly is better than BC? Well, I don't know that it's better necessarily. I mean, it's different, but no platform is perfect. BC wasn't perfect 10 years ago when we started using it, and it's still not perfect.
Well,
10 years
before you had a choice, and now one of those choices has been removed, so maybe that's
Right,
why.
right. So for certain types of sites, or if you want to do liquid, yeah, BC was great. But for most of us, we don't have to necessarily do all those things all the time for every site.
I mean, I like to say BC was good in the early days. It was the only thing out there that really worked the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff we're seeing now with Weebly and Duda and these other platforms are really what BC could have been if they'd have kept their development up and
Right,
kept going with it.
exactly.
In my
Right.
opinion, anyway.
Absolutely.
So Bill's encouraged. He's going to go get back his job application as a Walmart greeter, and he thinks there might be some hope. Just a rough idea, how many pages on average, like what's your average site size? Is it 10 pages, 20 pages, 50 pages?
So average probably is between 5 to 10 pages, but we've done a site up to 100 pages on Weebly.
Okay. And your whole email thing, so if you had someone who was hosting email on Business Catalyst, what did that look like to get them set up on the G Suite on the Weebly side?
I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay.
So I don't know yet. I know I did move my own personal email to G Suite, and they actually have an importer where it just goes to your mailbox and imports all of your email accounts or email messages from your IMAP account into your G Suite account. So they do have a migration tool.
Adam also asked what you use for your own site, your partner site, like for AID+BC and for the others.
Right. So AID+BC is a business catalyst site. MIS Inc., which is the main company, that my web design company, misinc.com. I used Webflow for that because I wanted to have the capability of having web apps and also just do something more unique. But we also have another service that Joe and I did together called Rapid Sites for building sites more quickly. That one is a Weebly Cloud site.
Yeah.
So
what are your plans for AID+BC? Where is that headed?
AID+BC is just helping clients, helping Business Catalyst partners move off of BC at this point.
So unless you rebrand it to AID Weebly, there's not. It's got a limited lifespan.
Right. Same with Dashby, which is our Business Catalyst.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are all going to be retired in 2 years.
I think that'll answer the question. Do you know roughly how many templates are available? Is it 100, 500, 1,000?
There's not that many. I would say maybe there's 30 to 50 different templates.
Okay.
But each template has within it a variety of options. And so you can do different things within a template to make it unique.
Cool. Bruce has a good suggestion, leavebc.com.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. I should register that before someone else does.
Yeah. Too late. Oh, man. Cool. I say, if you had a question that I didn't cover, ask it again now, because I can't scroll up.
I see Steve says, what system do you use to bill your clients recurring? I use a system called a service called Wave. So waveapps.com is their URL. It's a free invoicing platform. They also do recurring billing. And so that's what I do. So when I host a new site, I put them into Wave. I make an invoice. I set it as recurring for the next year when it comes up. Something that we didn't talk about, but might be interesting, is the minimum we're charging for hosting on Weebly Cloud is $3.99, and that's on a starter plan. So our cost is $4 a month on the agency plan, and we're able to sell that for $3.99, and the clients are happy to pay it because they have a great interface. They can do everything they ever want to do on their website.
Is that a year? Sorry.
That's a year. Yeah, $3.99 a year. Yeah. So
and then whatever it costs
and we were selling it for $3.99, and they're clients are very happy with it. They have a lot more control than they did with BC.
Yeah, and that's for the hosting side of things and the support side of things. Yeah, so
right,
I mean,
it's just the hosting.
it's extra for design or content or any of that
Right,
kind of stuff.
design,
Yeah.
all that separate. Yeah, and we're actually charging the same fee that we would to a client to design them on BC to design them on Weebly Cloud. But as I mentioned, because we can get them done more quickly, our margins are higher. But the client's still happy because their project is done more quickly, so they don't mind. They don't question it. Again, they're coming to us for our expertise, not necessarily what tool we're using.
Cool. Now let's on the count of three. Let's everybody wave to Neil because he has to go. All right, bye, Neil.
See you, Neil.
He was kind enough to say he had to go, so I don't mind that. There's a couple of questions there. And the repeats. Kieran asks, he'd like to hear more about the start from scratch, custom HTML CMS file versus using a template, and how it interacts with the Weebly elements.
Sorry, say that again. I was responding to Trisha's question. She wanted to know if they start on the 149 plan, if they can move to the agency plan. Yes, you can do that. You can start with the 149 plan and then upgrade to the agency plan as you have more sites or just
Cool.
So
and
what was the question?
That question there, what she's probably really asking, in 2 years, if they decide to go to the agency, will they still honor the 499 plan?
Yeah, through the end of life, they're going to honor that rate.
Cool. So Kieran asks, he'd like to hear more about the start from scratch custom HTML CSS versus the template. If you can speak more about that.
So there is a base theme that you can download on one of these links that I sent you. So you can download I think it's on GitHub even. It's a base theme that's just blank. So you can start with a base theme if you want, and then just add in your own HTML, CSS. The part that you could code the whole HTML, CSS and not make any of it editable. But the thing is that the point of using Weebly is to allow the client to be able to edit it. So you do want to set up some editable regions, but you can do that. And give your client sort of the best of both worlds to be able to edit it, but also give them a custom site.
What's the code like to add that editable region? Is it complicated? Is it just...
No, it's just the one tag. Like the sidebar, it's just bracket, sidebar, close bracket. That's it.
That's it. So once you define your widget, it's just really a matter of dropping it in.
There's some built-in tags. So sidebar is a built-in one. So if we go to social is another one that's built in.
Yeah, I think you did cover that in the video there. You talked specifically to it, so it's worth watching that one. And maybe
you can also decide whether you want a tag to be global or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it only affects the page or for any instance of it. Yeah.
Right. So like content holders would be something, you would replace that with a global variable so that it's everywhere is the same content. But for a web app, you would probably not make it global. So you can choose, whether you want your tag to be global or not. So this is the tag. This is the code for adding a header area so that the client can just...
Sorry, you got to share your screen again, Karim.
Oh, I'm looking at it myself. Hello.
Yeah. But it's beautiful.
Okay. Anyway, it's just a couple lines of code to add a header.
It's not area. I think it was well covered in that video too. So it's...
and the documentation,
Yeah. So Barbara asks, and she's asked us a couple of times, is there a limited CRM with the e-commerce customers? So when someone buys something on an e-commerce site, what happens in the back-end CRM-wise?
When someone buys something, they get an order, they get an order, an invoice. There's an order created in the back end. So you can go and view the orders. You can see who it was from. You can then follow up with them about shipping and tell them that, they're shipping their item shipped and give them the tracking number, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, Barbara, if that didn't answer your question, if you could elaborate, that would be good.
You can also create your own custom variables. So there's built-in ones like sidebar or headline, but you can also make your own custom ones and either make them, text area so that the client can just type text. You can make them an image area so the client can just put in an image, or you can make them a content area. And with a content area, they can drag and drop any widget into that area. So you have full control of what you want the client to be able to do in that editable region.
I don't know much about it. I haven't tried it yet, but just from watching your videos and then from today's session, it seems pretty comfortable as far as, I know BC quite well. This seems to be pretty comfortable, although it looks different. But it doesn't seem like it's that big of a jump. So
it isn't. I mean, just developing sites is different because the process is different. But managing sites is very similar.
Yeah.
Deborah had a question about tax codes. Yeah, you do have, you can set up your own tax codes, or you can do automatic tax calculations. That's US only for the automatic, but you can do manual taxes and create your own regions and states and zip codes and tax rates. So yes, it does do that, and automatic shipping as well.
Cool. Ahmed wants to know if you can use Angular.
Probably not. I don't know. I haven't done that or looked into it, but it's really not a platform for that if you're trying to do something
Well, it's a jQuery library that reads JSON files. So theoretically, if you can insert the library code, then
it does work. That's a good question. I have not done that.
Yeah, I've done a bit of Angular, but this to me is not the platform where you want to do that kind of advanced stuff.
Right.
But
yeah.
you know,
is meant for you to be able to build a site quickly for a client and then turn it over to them and let them edit it and do whatever they need to do with their site without having to worry about it. So it's fully hosted, and you don't have to worry about anything like that.
Well, and it sounds like I'm trying to sell it. I'm not. This is my first exposure to it. But it sounds like you've had 12 to 18 months experience with it, and it's been working well for you, is what I'm hearing you say.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be talking about it if it was a bad experience. That's the last thing I would want, is to tell people, go use this awful tool that doesn't do what you think it does. No, I'm giving my full experience. How we've used it, when it's made sense, with the difference it's made in our business. And this is just from my personal experience. Although it did take time to figure out, the ins and outs of it, just like we did with BC, all the workarounds we had to do and all that. I mean, some of those things just take time.
Yeah, Daniel asked a question, and this is good for me too, because I have some clients that like to do this. They use the e-commerce aspects of it, but it's not for purchase. It's just to present their products. And then it's
do that.
So you could remove the buttons and just say,
sure.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, they do also have a feature, kind of like include files. They call it partials. And so you can also have something like that. If you have content or code that's repeated on multiple pages, you can use partials. And they use that for the blog layout or the navigation. So I was just working on a site that had very custom navigation. And so I just edited the partials for the navigation, kind of like the menu modules that we had in BC. Same exact idea. I could edit it and make the navigation look, any way that we wanted it to look.
Cool. And release dates. So like if I want to have a Saturday sale, I can have it show up at 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday and remove that content 4 o'clock on Saturday. Is that possible?
That's a good question. I have not had to do that. I don't think there is a way to do that with content. There might be a way to do that with products. I think I remember seeing that with products. Let me see. If I add a product, and I know you can't see my screen. Let's see here. Advanced options. You can set the visibility, but I don't see a way to put in a date of when you want an item to be visible.
Okay. And that would require anyway, that's something to think about. Some Jack asked about digital documents like PDFs, on Business Catalyst. And if you secure the page is one thing, but you have to secure the PDF as well, or anybody can get a link to the PDF and just have it. What does that look like on Weebly? There
is no secure PDF or secure document feature that I know of. You can basically secure a page, but not necessarily a file.
Okay, so if that file was linked on that page and that someone had the link, then they're going to be able to get the file then, right?
Right.
Yes. So you'd want to put a password on the PDF then if it's that important.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Deborah asked, how far away is the email marketing integration? That's Q2, Q3, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
That's what they've told me, yeah. Things can change, obviously. I know BC always used to say, we don't like to give a roadmap because things change, but it's like, I'd rather have an idea of what's coming versus, not hearing anything for 6 months. And then, so they tell us at least that, something is coming. I think it's even on their blog, on the Weebly Cloud blog, that those things are coming. But, those exactly.
Yeah. Neil, who I thought had to go but has stayed, says pop-ups on the homepage like Webflow has.
You can do pop-ups if you use their email marketing feature. They have a built-in pop-up code that you can use so that you can, give somebody a coupon code, 10 seconds after they land on your page, or grab their email to put it onto a list. But there's also a bunch of third-party apps that you can use that do the same kind of thing. There's no shortage of options there.
And then Daniel asked, and I think we kind of cut you off on this aspect, but the built-in modules like a news module or a FAQ module. And
yeah, those are all apps. So FAQ is an app. News, for news, we just use the blog module. So we have that capability. There's also like an RSS module that you can put onto your page. So that way you can have like a list of blog posts, you know, to display on your site.
Cool.
SSL is included for every site for free. So from a $4 plan to a $20 plan, you get free SSL.
Okay. I think that covers most of it.
Okay.
I'm happy to stay on for another few minutes if people still have questions. If Karim is available, I really appreciate your time today. This has been informative for me, and I'm sure for the folks on here.
Not a problem. No, my daughter hasn't walked in yet, so I still have time.
Well, I have to leave in 40 minutes for tonight's guitar lesson, so I can.
Oh, is that right?
I can learn my music you play? Mostly country music. I like Chris Stapleton and
cool.
that kind of style. So.
All right.
But anyway, I have to learn my next instrument of torture, as it were. Yeah, so sure. Yeah, where Dave does a jam. You know, Mike actually wanted me to create a Sandpile song that we could play at the start of every Sandpile, and I've thought about it, but now next week, unless someone has another platform to present, we're going to talk about the future of Sandpile. So, how's that for?
That's a good topic.
It is. Like, what do we want to do? And again, I'm open. If someone has another platform they want to show or present or talk about their strategy, whatever, I'm open to that. But if not, at some point we're going to talk about Sandpile and what does the future look like for the community, because it's what's made BC great over all these years.
Right.
So I kind of hate to see it go away, but you know, maybe it becomes something different.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara wants to know if there's a trial that you can sign up for with the Weebly side of things.
Well, they have a free plan, so you can start out with a free plan. Let me see if I have the.
Yeah. So, and then I think the difference is there's some ghosting or like their logos on there or those kind of things, right?
Well, yeah. So you can sign up with a free plan, and then you don't get the white label, and you don't get the bigger discounts with that. But you know, you can get started and play around with it certainly from there.
Cool.
Mark wants to know, can I use third-party SSL EV certificates? I don't know. That's something I can find out.
Okay. Now Neil says he signed up and it's in trial mode for 14 days, so there is some level of free trial. Mm-hmm. And Anthony suggests shifting sands instead of Sandpile. So. Yeah. Yes, Joe, that's good. You and your 7 fingers, that's good. For some reason, he's thinking of Battlestar Galactica, a ragtag fleet of web developers looking for a strange new world.
Bill wants to know what percentage of sites are on Weebly versus Webflow. We only have 2 sites on Webflow. One is our own agency site, and one is a client site. Everything else we're doing on Weebly Cloud just because the costs are less and we can build them more quickly, efficiently. Well,
and that's what the customer need is. Like, unless your customer needs Webflow, why go that far?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we do have a couple of really complex BC sites that I have to figure out what to do with. So I was looking at Umbraco, is that how it's pronounced? Maybe Platform OS, something like that, because they have really, really custom stuff that we did in BC that just, it's crazy what we had to do to get the clients, to agree to.
Well, you can always build your own interface over top of Platform OS. Doesn't have to be the code production variety. So.
Right. Yeah. I haven't even been able to get into that very much yet, but.
Yeah. Well, that's all code production is done. There's Platform OS sits there, and they've built a layer over top of that talks to it in a way that makes it easier to edit and update. So I mean, you could just as easily build your own interface into Platform OS and have all your own hooks.
Right? The interface is the features. Like we did a crazy subscription feature for them that, the built-in BC way didn't work for them, and so they wanted a way for people to be able to do subscriptions and upgrade and cancel and all this stuff automatically. It's a whole. I can't even remember everything we did for them. I have to go back to all my notes, but so there's things like that we have to figure out for more complex sites. But fortunately, most of our sites are small business sites. And so Weebly Cloud is perfect.
Perfect. Daniel asks, in 20 words or less, how does Webflow compare to BC?
I think I put that in my summary. We're doing sites more quickly, making more money per project, and our margins are up. So is that 20 words?
That's good. Yeah, it was me that put the 20-word limit on. But
okay.
So yeah. So those are just comments now. Cool. All right. Unless there's any driving questions, I will take the document that Karim's going to send me, and that will have the links and his email address and the charts and the pricing and all that stuff in it. I'll post that on the Sandpile meeting notes, as well as this recording. So that stuff should all be there by about noonish tomorrow. It takes some time I got to do a little bit of editing on the video to take off the stuff at the front and then push it up to YouTube.
Make me look good, whatever you do, Dave.
I do. I use that gloss filter.
All right, cool.
Yeah. I actually look like a 20-year-old Fabio once I'm finished editing, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That would be a friggin' miracle. Okay, right. Thanks everybody for showing up.
Everyone.
And thank you, Karim. Thank you, Karim. It was a pleasure to have you and very informative.
Happy to be here. All right, take care.
All right,
bye.